I'm Shane Wilson. I'm documenting this video so that I personally have something that contains some of the components that are necessary, along with the pictures and the explanation of why and how I became interested and involved in Buddhism. First as a lay person, and then as a ordained Buddhist monk, and then an ordained Buddhist minister, in that order. I started out studying the different traditions of Buddhism, basically from library books, and eventually found a teacher from the Mahayana tradition, a Buddhist nun who was very intelligent, very charismatic teacher, and I learned a great deal from her. Her name is Genya Dakyang from the Kadampa Buddhist tradition. And eventually, I realized that I was in the wrong tradition. I found that Mahayana tradition had too many rites and rituals. And these rites and rituals actually took me away from the practice rather than allowed me to go further into the practice and the study of Buddhism. And so I wanted to go to the heart of the Theravada teachings, which led me to Thailand. It was in Thailand that I spent every October and every April of the next 4 or 5 years, studying Buddhism under a teacher called Ajahn Paro from Chiang Mai, Thailand. Ajahn Paro was a very intelligent man. He was studied art in France and eventually was drawn into Buddhism, like many people are, through the teachings and through the exploration of life in general. I spent most of my time when I was in Thailand with him, and we would run retreats. I would help him and he would teach me. We would run retreats of sometimes 100 people or more. He wasn't the only teacher there. There were probably 5 or 6 other teachers that were teaching, taking care of these hundreds of people that would come to these retreats. They were 10-day retreats. And this was a very special time for me. I was not expecting anything. It was very inexpensive for me to live in Thailand. I had to basically find a flight there, and then I would be, living there and get around pretty inexpensively, and the food was very inexpensive. Basically, finding a flight there, and then booking a flight there and back several times a year. And as mentioned, I did that for a number of years, 4 or 5 years. Coming back to the United States, and in between some of these trips, I decided to become ordained under the request of the King of Thailand. He didn't request me directly, but it was a request that he let known, and he made many people known that he was looking for as many ordained monks as possible. And so I took the calling and decided to become ordained. And this is a picture of me as a novice monk, which is part of the tradition. And then after that, and this was all at Wat Patron in Phoenix, Arizona. So I was still in Phoenix, and I was ordained as a monk in my home, the town that I was living in. This is the group of people that I was ordained with at that time at the Wat Patron. And this is a picture taken shortly after our ordination, where we're holding our certificates. And these blue boxes contained a gold Buddha that were given to each of us from the Queen of Thailand, the king's wife. And this is a picture of me with one of the only Caucasians there. We did a lot of meditating, a lot of chanting. We learned how to tie and wear our robes. It was a very interesting time. Spent lots of time in the temple, and oftentimes people would come in and we would get a chance to work with them, teach them, talk with them. A lot of that was reserved for the more learned monks, but when somebody came in and they wanted somebody that could speak English, good, clean, clear English, they would often come to me, because I was one of the few white people, the English-speaking monks there. And so that was a very interesting and worthwhile time for me. I was ordained and lived at the temple for a number of months. I really don't recall how many months it was. It wasn't quite a year. This would have been back in approximately 2003, maybe 2004. And then I was able to travel around. I went to Thailand as a monk and stayed at some of the temples. I went to the temples where there were some English-speaking monks that would work with me and teach me, and just so that we could communicate. And these are some of the monks that I was able to speak with that did know English. And then I realized I had too many possessions. I thought I could learn more by teaching as a lay person. And this was actually suggested to me from some of the other monks. They thought that I would be, rather than spending too much time inside of the monastery, and then the other option would be, of course, being a forest monk, which would mean that I would be in solitude in the forest, which was actually something that would appeal to me more than being in the monastery all the time. They thought that possibly my calling was to teach as a lay person. And so that's what I did. I trained with Matthew Flickstein in how to run retreats and how to basically be a better teacher. So in 2011, I started running 3 retreats a year, and that eventually turned out to be about 9 retreats a year. And I also studied with a great deal with Bhante Gunaratana. And this is a picture of me with Bhante in Hawaii at our first retreat together. Got an opportunity to spend a lot of time with him there. We did a lot of hiking and a lot of working together. Bhante Gunaratana is a very, very learned Sri Lankan monk. and he came to Mesa, Arizona, where I was living, and we did some teaching together, which was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I was able to spend a great deal of time with him while he was here as well. And he made actually 2 visits to Mesa, Arizona, which is basically Phoenix, Arizona. And we did a great deal of teaching. I was able to sit right with him and help him out in his efforts, and I was of course able to learn a lot myself from doing it. He is the author of the very famous book Mindfulness in Plain English. Very, very heartfelt, very compassionate, very loving monk. And I was able to, from that experience, I met and worked with many other monks at the temple in Mesa. And this is a place that I still teach at today. And this is a picture of myself with Bhante Ananda, who is the abbot of the temple in Mesa, Arizona. This temple is called the Arizona International Buddhist Meditation Center. And so from there, I went from being a monk to being an ordained Buddhist minister. In 2011, I wrote actually 2 books that year. One of them was Meditation, the Great Teacher, subtitled The Practice of Going Within, and then the other book was Minding the Breath, Meditation Techniques of the Anapanasati, which is a Buddhist teaching, called Mindfulness of Breathing. And so today I have sold the Meditation Learning Center, which is a building that I used for teaching and retreats and that type of thing. Semi-retired, basically, these days. I'm not seeing people on an individual private basis, but I am still teaching. I'm teaching online through Insight Timer. There's still been teaching a meditation class on Wednesday nights for the last decade and a half, basically. And also, I do teach live. I do Saturday morning programs from time to time. And that's what I've been doing these days. Although I'm not working with people individually anymore, I do teach as much Buddhism, including the practices of the Eightfold Path and meditation, mindfulness, concentration techniques. And it's been a wonderful journey up to this point. I plan on doing much, much more. So I just wanted to document this, and basically these pictures that are a part of this video are things that for some reason I feel as if they should be all grouped into one bundle, and that's what this is all about. I appreciate you listening and watching. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to contact me through shane@meditationlearningcenter.com. Once again, thank you for watching, and hope to connect with you either online or perhaps in one of the live programs that are offered. Thank you.